Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mark Oldof's Guy Halpern here for the Sports Insanity Network, brought to you by the Dugout of Millwood, with sponsors of World Championship Scorecards, Grading in West Palm Beach, Florida, and Top Notch Sports Club, your best group for live breaks. Here we are, Super Bowl Sunday, and we do have a guest who will be on in a few minutes, but we're not going to let you know who that's going to be. It's going to be a very special guest, but we'll wait and allude to him until he comes in. But for now, it's Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm with the one and only Mike, the pun master, writes all the articles for the network, Rifkin. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. All right, I've got to try this because the Super Bowl's in Vegas. I've got to do a Bruce Buffer imitation. For those who don't know who Bruce Buffer is, he's the UFC Octagon announcer guy. So I'm going to try this. For the thousands that'll be in attendance today and for the millions watching at home, it's I can't get the full emotion of it. It's also 10 in the morning. But it's time. 4 quarters to determine who will be the NFL's Super Bowl champion. In one corner, representing the NFC as the number one seed, Mark San Francisco 49ers. And in the other corner, the 3 seed out of the AFC, represented by Taylor Swift and company, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's a rematch of a Super Bowl from a couple of years ago. Some slight changes. We'll dive into this game head first. And again, as Mark mentioned, we will have a guest come by in a couple of minutes. But as we get in here and get started, the road for both teams. Kansas City, for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, had to win a road playoff game. They won 2 in Buffalo, in Baltimore, and they won the wild card round against Dolphins at home. The 49ers had the first round bye because they had the best record in the NFC. And then they beat the Packers, and they had the incredible comeback against the Lions. So let's start with, I guess we'll start with the Niners here because that's where we ended off. Mark, they didn't play a complete great game against the Packers. And then we know the NFC Championship game what occurred in the fact of Dan Campbell not taking the points.
That
So
first, yeah,
yeah, go
that
ahead.
first, sorry, that first half of that San Francisco game, as I said last week, reminded me of the 93 title game against San Francisco and then Dallas, where San Francisco just came out and manhandled Dallas, but finished it out. This was kind of like that, but with a heroic Frank Reich ending. You know, yes, he was not the backup quarterback. Brock Purdy just came alive in the second half and really did a great job and brought the Niners to the Super Bowl, where the true MVP, no offense to Lamar Jackson, I love you, but CM7 will be going on today.
And just think about the weapons that this Niners team has offensively. Bring in McCaffrey, Debo Samuel. Then you get into Brandon Ayuk, who had a huge play in both the Packer game and in the Detroit game. If you go back to the Packer game, he made a big, I think it was a third down conversion.
Like 20 something yards. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had to come up big when Debo was out of that game. And then 2 weeks ago in the title game, he caught the pass that hit the defender right in the face mask, which set up San Francisco to score, and that was the first touchdown on their way to the comeback. Excuse me. So it's really, oh, here we go. Our guest is arriving now. Give it a sec. All right, Mark, you want to do the intro?
God, ladies and gentlemen, from the great state of footballness, Texas, we want to welcome Rudy Campos of Sweep the League to the Sports Insanity Podcast Sunday Sideline Report Super Bowl edition. Rudy, good morning. And
Have us.
he's still frozen. He'll be in a second.
Hold on, he's kidding. There we go.
Yeah, there he is. He's coming.
He missed the whole intro.
He missed the whole intro. That's on me. We'll be welcome. We're live. It's okay.
There he is.
Hey man, yeah, I'm good. I'm in now.
That's my bad. We're gonna do that again because when we're live, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, from the great state of football, Texas, where no NFL team is represented in the Super Bowl, from Sweep the League, Rudy Campos. Rudy, good morning. Welcome.
Morning, hey, morning, guys. Morning. Yes, it's been what 97 since the Texas team is represented in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
VCRs were the thing back then, so.
Dude, don't get me started on VCRs. I used to love a good VCR.
Yeah, VCR, they always said if you could program the time on a VCR, you were a madman, you were a genius, and you could basically, create anything, and you were just top of the world if you could get the time. But yeah, man, the VCRs went from just playing VHS to then you could record, and then you could do it like the old set it and forget it thing. So yeah, VCRs were awesome back then.
Yeah, the amount of Disney tapes and wrestling tapes I had as a kid. Oh no, VCRs were the big thing back in the day.
You can go into a whole show of VCR because then you had Blockbuster video.
Blockbuster, sure.
Walking in on a Friday night praying they had the movie that was released.
Right. Or the game.
Or the game, yeah.
Oh, all right. Enough about nostalgia. We got to live in the here and now.
Oh, yeah.
Rudy, we were talking about the Niners road as they prepare to play in the Super Bowl. What's been your thoughts on how they played against the Packers and against Detroit a couple of weeks ago, where they had that unreal comeback?
So, the Niners road has been an extremely tough one. They haven't been playing up to par in the last part of the season and also in the playoffs. I mean, you were talking about a Green Bay team that was left for dead. Aaron Rodgers moved on to the New York Jets. You had Jordan Love. You didn't exactly knew what you were getting in Jordan Love. You had the youngest team in the NFL with the Packers. So seeing San Francisco struggle with them and knowing that it was just kind of the Packers type in the playoffs where, it's not their time yet. I mean, you talk about maturity, you talk about, Aaron Jones being that guy only on that team, that's had any real type of playoff experience. The struggles against them was very, very real. And that was a very good eye opener for San Francisco against the Packers because it gives them, we figured to give them a shot in the arm, and it didn't. You go to Detroit the very next, you play against Detroit the very next week, and the Lions ultimately, everybody says you can't blame Dan Campbell, you can't blame coaching, you can't blame that. Ultimately, when you leave points on the board in a playoff game, that is the absolute worst thing you can do as a head coach. I get it. You want to have balls and go through everything. Hey, we're going to win this game. That's regular season stuff, or that's Super Bowl stuff when it actually means something in that time frame. But with Dan Campbell leaving points on the board, it just basically gave San Francisco that win. So I'm going to say this: they're limping into the Super Bowl as the best team of the two. And that's kind of a scary reality for everybody in San Francisco right now.
And I think the one guy, and Mark, you could chime in on this as well, the one guy who's caught a lot of criticism, whether it's warranted or not, and I think I'm going to name drop the guy who probably started the narrative a little bit, And when Cam Newton has called Brock Purdy a game manager, does a win today for Brock Purdy kind of erase that narrative? Or is it more so of, hey, look at what he's got. He doesn't have to do too much. He just can't lose you the game.
In this case, if Purdy can go out and do what was asked and time manage this game and keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, then you want to know something? Then Purdy gets all the credit, and Purdy belongs where he should be as the season progressed, in my opinion. Whether he's going to be able to keep this up year after year, I can't.
I'm not worried about year after year. I'm asking about the here and now because
Yes,
that's what you're judged on. You're judged on here and now. You're not judged based on what happens next year. Let's be real honest. And I don't want to sound negative, but if he pulls an Aaron Rodgers and tears his Achilles 4 plays in the next season, how do I judge him off of that?
Mm-hmm.
So, Rudy, your thoughts there on Purdy?
So yeah, with Brock Purdy, it's kind of tough. I understand why players and a lot of fans in general are calling him game manager. But you know what? That's not his fault at all. I mean, if you want to consider him a game manager, consider him a game manager. If you want to consider him a Super Bowl champion, he's a Super Bowl champion. You know what? He's a starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And you can't blame a player for a coach putting him in the perfect situation. And, Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. Unfortunately, he kind of, I feel I put a blame on him for the Falcons losing the Super Bowl, which the Falcons are my team. And so definitely I get that nod all the time. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, I definitely I get the negativity a lot. But outside of Kyle Shanahan's a couple of hiccups, I mean, he's a great coach and he's putting Brock Purdy in the perfect position. So if you want to call him a game manager, call him a game manager. But if he wins the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers, there's one thing you can call him, and that is Super Bowl champion, championship quarterback for the Niners. I mean, look at guys like Trent Dilfer back with Baltimore. Yep. I mean, that was all the defense, and all Trent had to do was just kind of hobble his way, on the offensive side to just get little things done here and there. So we're not, calling Trent Dilfer a game manager. So you can't really call Brock Purdy that either.
Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, that a couple of years later.
Mm-hmm.
I think I hate the term game manager because I think every quarterback's a game manager. Sure, there are some who will light it up more so than others, but any quarterback that has 5 turnovers in a game, you're not managing the game well.
Yeah.
So is it Brock Purdy's fault that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch used the final pick in the draft on him, and he just walks in with George Kittle, Debo, Brandon Ayuk? They bring in McCaffrey in a trade a couple of years ago too. That's not Brock Purdy's fault. Not his fault. He fell into the perfect situation. It's not his fault Trey Lance didn't pan out. It's not his fault Jimmy Garoppolo's the walking wounded. But he came in, he's done his job, and to quote the great show South Park, he took their job.
Yeah. He did.
See, one of the hardest things, Mike made a statement, is Trey Lance was given no time really to prove himself. Brock Purdy showed better. That's why he was in over Lance. I mean, there is no question. I don't know, and I don't think the league will know what Trey Lance really is until he's played a real full season in the NFL. And I was very excited when Dallas got him for literally potato chips to be Dak Prescott's backup. I think it's one of the smartest moves.
But Brock Purdy's play allows them to move on. So
absolutely.
And so that's why by the way, the guy on the other side, he's been a game manager this year too, because he hasn't. Kansas City, and I know I'm changing here on the fly. Kansas City's changed their identity from the past couple of years. Their identity used to be Patrick put up 35 to 38. The defense won't give up that much. Now it's Patrick, if you get us to 24, we should win that game. because the defense is good enough, and we're going to run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco, who just looks mad at everybody.
Have we seen any running like that since maybe what Jerome Bettis and those guys? I mean,
Oh,
he's running through everybody.
you know what? I think that's a fair comp. Like, he's a smaller Jerome Bettis. And when I say smaller, I just mean like height wise. But
Mhm.
man, he's got that kind of style to him.
He likes to run right into the center and just burst through there, and
Mhm.
nobody did it better than the bus. So I mean, that's a
I
good
mean,
comparison that I
well,
never.
I think a fair comparison also is guy like maybe like Marshawn Lynch. I mean,
Yeah.
he had the speed, he had the bulkiness, he could barrel through a lot of guys. It's something that Pacheco is playing like. It's something like a Marshawn Lynch, but I think he's stronger than Lynch, and that's where Bettis comes in. But I mean, imagine if you had Bettis like remember Mark, you definitely remember this guy. He reminds me a lot of a younger version of like a Ron Dane when he was
Oh
coming into
God,
Wisconsin. Yeah.
good old man for the Giants, Ron Dane. Oh yeah,
Yeah, the Thunder and Lightning days,
so
back in the
right.
day.
See, one of the things I have a problem with Pacheco is that
You went to Rutgers.
I mean that's one. I mean, I guess no. My biggest problem with Pacheco is he's not a multilateral running back like Mahomes needs, like Hilaire was. That Hilaire could get you 8 receptions, but run the ball 22 times at the same time. That's what I think one of the weak spots for Mahomes has become is the play action. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but I think Mahomes is more now either shotgun or straight drop back instead of being able to move with that play action.
But I also think that's more of a trust thing. With play action, you need time to develop the play.
Mm.
And I'm not saying this is all on the offensive line, but Jawan Taylor has been Mr. False Starter, Mr. Holding most of the year.
Mhm.
And these receivers, listen, that's been the spotlight all year. These receivers haven't played great until now. Rasheed Rice has been as solid as a bowl of rice aroni, and you know what you're getting out of Travis Kelce. But the other guys, MVS down at CVS, I mean, we can go back and watch the end of the Philly game. He comes up with that ball, they win that game.
Yeah.
But so the trust factor has to be there. But they still have LR. They still have Jerick McKinnon, who I think is a game time decision today because he was activated off of IR, where they put Joe Thuney, who will miss today's game. That's a massive loss on the O line, too.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I can't bet against 15 because when he doesn't have it, and Mark, I think you'll attest to this. I go back to the Philly game, the Super Bowl last year. I go back to multiple big games. When Patrick Mahomes needs a big play, he doesn't call Travis Kelce. He doesn't call Ghostbusters. He calls his legs, and he uses them. And I think that's going to play a massive role in today's game. Can San Francisco's defense keep him in the pocket? Which sounds like it's a dangerous thing, but the Niners' best weapon is their front on the
Mhm.
on defense. So if you keep him in the pocket, Bosa, Chase Young, Armstead, Hargrave beat the offensive line. Patrick's gonna get the ball out quickly, but get hands on him. Make sure he can't beat you with his legs.
Yeah, I think Sky Moore is a guy that you kind of want to look at because he's off of injured reserve, and I think he's actually going to be active for this game if it hasn't been announced yet. With Kadarius Toney being out, I mean they're not going to play him obviously today. Um, Sky Moore has been a guy that's been talked about in preseason as being that guy that Mahomes needs to have some kind of partnership and connection with. So what better, what better stage than to have Sky Moore? Like I said, I'm trying to see if he is active, which I believe he is active for the game. He's been there a while. He's been in Andy Reid's system for a year or so already, a couple of years. I think the Sky Moore could be that one guy who everybody says you're looking for a Super Bowl hero somewhere. he could be that Super Bowl hero that Mahomes needs because let's be real, man. In a year where Mahomes has no receiving core outside of, you said, Rice and Kelsey, he's looking for that one guy to step up. Sky Moore has to be that guy. Not only that, I don't even know if McCole Hardman. I haven't even got the injury report yet, so I need to see who's actually in and out for it.
So from Adam Schefter, this is a couple of hours ago. Kadarius Toney, who scored a touchdown last year, is not expected to play today.
Yeah,
but he is off the injury report. So I'm with you. I think Sky Moore was activated. I'm unsure of his status. We'll find that out later. But he had a big play last year in the Super Bowl too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he crushed my fantasy team, but that's a whole nother conversation this year. Don't invest. But you're right. And Kadarius, listen, don't get me started on the Kadarius Toney stuff because this whole thing is weird and gotten out of control.
Mm.
But look, Kansas City's made it here when everyone's criticized the lack of weapons they have, and that they are still, to quote Ric Flair, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And when everyone thought they didn't have what it takes, they're still the man.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, you can't bet against Mahomes. I mean, I don't care if you give Mahomes, if you go back to like some made up characters like Featherstone, from Necessary Roughness movie.
Roughness.
Yeah. So, I mean, you
don't
can
throw
give
it to Stonehenge.
You can give him some of the worst receivers we've ever seen, and somehow or another he's gonna get it done. And that's kind of a reason why well, I mean, you'll probably do Super Bowl predictions here in a little bit, but that's kind of the reason why I lean towards Kansas City, just because I mean, it's like betting against Tom Brady. You hardly ever bet against Tom Brady.
And both of you brought up a good point. Sky Moore last year had that big, that touchdown towards the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what Rudy had to say regarding him for the beginning of the season is he was the guy who was supposed to be getting out there in the slot more for them, and it just hasn't translated into that. I think Scantling has had a horrible chance with especially with the holes having healed from his hands from catching passes from Rodgers. So, it's a little bit of everybody on that team can catch a ball. It's just, can they catch it in the big game? I mean, you don't have to worry about Kelsey getting his 5-6 receptions. It's going to happen. Mike pointed out that Mahomes uses his legs when needed and can use them very well. He averages over 4 rushes in a big game. I believe it's close to almost 5. And for over 20, 25 yards, that's 2 first downs. Or if you're inside the red zone, there's an easy touchdown. So just because he doesn't have a receiver open, like Mike said, you can't, count him out like you wouldn't bet against Brady. But I'm one of the few who are.
All right, we'll definitely get into predictions before we close out. Rudy, I know you said you had about 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
For us. So you're rolling with Kansas City is
Mm-hmm.
what you were leaning. I'm curious because I put this in the rundown and I brought it to Mark's attention. I don't know if you're a gambler or not, so I didn't know if there were any props you liked going into the game.
Oh man, prop bets. I haven't really looked at them right now,
Okay.
but one, I don't know what the payout or anything. I do gamble a little bit. I mean, I'm not supposed to say that on air or anything, because we
Nothing is a sponsor.
We get
none of the gambling sites are a sponsor.
Well, unless you're sponsored by the IRS, then yeah, we're okay. Then I guess. I've always been the sucker for the gimmick bet of the heads or tails, which one's going to come out first. And but one bet that I saw that was actually kind of I don't know why, it just looked like it paid really well, was the very first play of the game would be a touchdown. And that is something where I've thought back and forth because you've got two very explosive offenses. Even though everybody's down on Kansas City, you always have that one trick play from Mahomes and Andy Reid where it's downfield and there goes Rasheed Rice, he's gone. Or on the other side, you just do a screen pass to Debo and he's gone. So I'm trying to figure what that would pay out, and if it's a really good payout, I think that would be my best gimmick pick. But outside of that, I will say this: I think if you're going off of like individual players and stuff, I think you're gonna bet the over on interceptions. I think both quarterbacks are probably gonna get. If it's like 1.5, I would probably take the over. Both teams' defense is very, very, very good. I mean, we know what the Niners have. The Chiefs are very good against the quarterback. So, I mean, I'm expecting the quarterbacks to kind of struggle today. It's going to be a ground game. I think it's going to be a Pacheco McCaffrey type game. So, bet high on the running backs, and I think on the interception wagon, I think one or maybe both of them are going to have a couple.
I couldn't agree more with Rudy on that with the interception wise, both quarterbacks are going to be very active. When looking through the sites, there was one prop bet that I'm, leaning towards, and that's McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo to combine for 300 receiving yards. I kind of like that as a lock almost. I think Purdy's going to have over 300 yards, especially if KC tries to stack the box against McCaffrey. McCaffrey doesn't just beat you as a running back. He can beat you out of the field in a slot or on the outside too. So
yeah.
Man, it's gonna be so much fun. Rudy, if that's all you've got for us, thank you for joining us. I don't want to feel like I'm kicking you out.
No.
Limited time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got Super Bowl stuff coming up. I've got a show that actually starts tomorrow, so prepping for that for an entire week's show is a lot. But I appreciate you guys having me on Sports City. I look forward to doing a lot more work with you guys. Had the pleasure of meeting all y'all. I've known Mark for a while, but I had the pleasure of meeting all y'all this past week. And I'm just gonna say I'm going Kansas City. We're gonna go Kansas City 31, Niners 28. I'll go with that prediction.
Oh, bold. I like it. Well, I hope you and whatever you have planned, congratulations on the great news on the show.
Thank you.
And as you said, we look forward to doing a lot with you. And just for everybody who knows, look for the two groups to be doing something big with the NFL draft. We'll keep you all updated on our sites.
Absolutely. You guys have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Eat all you want, man, because I guarantee tomorrow, man.
It's Thanksgiving in wintertime. Let's go.
That's the perfect thing. I'm going to use that because I have to use that. Thanksgiving in wintertime. I love that.
All right, take it away. Thanks for joining us, Rudy.
Yeah, you guys have a great day.
All right, everyone, check out Sweep the League, and also always sweep the leg.
all the time.
Oh, Mark, you knew I had to get it in.
Oh, absolutely. I know Rudy wouldn't have a problem with that. Oh. And just so people who don't know, Rudy Campos from Sweep the League has been a good friend of mine for a better part of a decade. And we met during the baseball card business, sort of breaks on certain break rooms. And you just learn to get to be friends with a guy. And you talk and you talk and you talk, and then it feels like you've known him for years. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with Mike, so that's how it is. No,
that's true. That's
just
true.
Kidding. Now back to the Super Bowl.
Right. So we talked a little bit about the quarterbacks. We talked to Mahomes. We talked Brock Purdy. I want to go to one guy on the sideline. Rudy and mentioned Kyle Shanahan. I'm not going there. His brother Brendan was a great hockey player. Father Mike is a great. I think he's in the Hall of Fame, Mike Shanahan.
Shanahan, yes.
But I want to talk about Andy Reid because the narrative on Andy Reid when he was in Philly was he couldn't win the big one. Losing those NFC championship games with Donovan McNabb and company. He goes to Kansas City. By the way, Alex Smith has a tremendous year. They move up 20 spots in the draft to take this kid Mahomes. And all they've turned out to be is you can make the argument they've become the Brady Belichick since Mahomes has gotten drafted. Or let me phrase that better. Since Mahomes has become the starter. And Andy Reid, he's top 5 in wins. He's won 2 Super Bowls. This would be his third. There's a lot of narrative about maybe Andy Reid retires after this. We don't know. I want to say this. I know Bill Belichick is deemed as the greatest coach of all time. I think you can make a very good argument that Andy Reid is a step below Bill Belichick, but he deserves a lot of recognition for what he's done in his career.
I can definitely say it takes massive huevos to say what Mike just said. And, when you look at the careers of the 2 coaches, I mean, you can look at all coaches, but just look at the 2 coaches, Belichick and Andy Reid. It's hard to think that Andy Reid would be below Belichick, but you can't really put him above Belichick because
It's
they're
the
both
same
they're
thing
both
with
still,
it's
they're
the
both
same
still
argument with Mahomes and Brady. Like
right.
Mahomes winning, this would be his third.
Right.
Like Brady's got 7. Mahomes is more talented than Tom ever was.
I don't disagree with that, but in the case of the coach wise,
Yeah.
I put him on the same platform, but I give Bill Belichick a little bit of lifts in his shoes to give him that edge over. I love Andy Reid. Yeah, I love Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is going to make Shake Shack very happy after the Super Bowl, whether they win or lose. It doesn't matter. I think both of them will go, beyond Hall of Fame. I don't know what after you go after that. You go through the pearly gates, whatever. Do you call them better than Lombardi, Parcells, Shula, Mora? I mean, I'm just throwing out some coaches. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I would put them above that. But again, football was much different during their reigns compared to when it is during these.
It becomes the Jordan LeBron debate.
Exactly.
And, it's unfair because we don't know how Vince Lombardi would coach today. We don't know how Tom Landry would coach today. Would he wear a better hat? Who knows? But I guess my point in saying is be appreciative of what you get to witness. I don't care if the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. No, respect the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl yet. Enjoy the fact that you get to watch arguably one of the greatest talents to ever play the quarterback position. Lament in the fact that you get to watch one of the greatest coaches of all time. Be appreciative of your surroundings because so many times, yes, while you want to pity the fact that your team's not here and you should be or you think you should be, none of it matters because if you lived in woulda, coulda, shoulda-ville, the world would be an ocean.
What do you mean, like the Giants fans in our group?
I'm not saying anything. Eli's a Hall of Famer next year.
He is not a Hall of Famer. No. Let me rephrase that.
I have way too much fun.
And I'm quoting the great Danny Boy Reginald right now. Because he got lucky twice in the Super Bowl, he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. If he wasn't that, he wouldn't get in for 52, never. Okay? Yes, I'm a Dallas fan. There's a little bit of bias here. But tell me something. He refused to go to San Diego because he was too good for it. He would have won more than Philip Rivers, like Mike said, had kids. He would have won more titles there than that. No, he came to New York and he had 2 lucky seasons. Now, the term anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday came into play for the Giants in 2007. Nobody is going to deny that. Okay. I don't care what anybody said. Tyree did not catch the ball. Manningham did, though. Manningham did. That was a catch. Eli Manning will get in, but for the wrong reasons. You're welcome, Bill.
Speaking of the Hall of Fame, quick segue. Hall of Fame class for 2024 was announced on Thursday during the NFL Honors. The class includes Dwight Freeney, Randy Gradishar, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Steve Mongo McMichael, Julius Peppers, and Patrick Willis. The one name not mentioned here who should have been in, because I'll argue for like 5 or 6 names after this. How Antonio Gates was not put in this year boggles my mind.
And he was one, definitely, I thought was going to get in. I mean, he was. It's hard to compare him to anybody out there because he kind of changed the tight end game altogether as becoming one of those elite, thin, but yet stocky tight ends for Phillip Rivers for all those years. He was one of the most reliable receivers in football.
Yeah, he was a big guy, basketball player in college, and they would use him kind of like how the Saints would then use Jimmy Graham. And I think they took a playbook from the Kansas City Chiefs on how they use Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So Gates will get in. I just thought he should have been in this year. And the 2 other guys I'll always argue for, I'll always argue for Reggie Wayne, because I thought Reggie was a great receiver. And I'll always argue for Torrey Holt. Because if you're going to put in Kurt Warner and you're going to put in Isaac Bruce, you have to put in Torrey
Holt. Not to go on what's on my head right now, but I don't disagree with Mike there. Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne both belong in the Hall of Fame as 2 of the most prolific wide receivers in football. The one name that got in this year, and look, not taking anything away from the guy, Andre Johnson, good wide receiver for the Texans. It doesn't have a Super Bowl, doesn't have any. How Darren Woodson was left out. 3-time Super Bowl champion. Top defense in the league 3 times. Yes, Darren Woodson got shellacked for this for no reason. There is no reason why he doesn't go in next year. Devin Hester, change punt returning forever. Okay?
That greatest returner I've ever seen.
Yes, and that's
runs like I used to be able to.
Yeah, no, that would be me running away from a lion in Africa if I was in the open prairie. But just Devin Hester, I really like that he got in. I love to watch Julius Peppers play, whether it was with the Panthers or with the Packers. The guy was always competitive, no matter what the game.
He created a tremendous soda.
It's just there are so many other names. I understand when you're a Super Bowl MVP and you got a couple of rings, you do belong in the hall for some reason. But Eli's going to take a spot from people who are well more deserved than it. Will Eli get in? Yes, but I don't believe he's a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Let me ask you this, because I don't care if he gets in first ballot or not. I really don't. I'm just having fun at your expense. Would you rather have his career with the 2 Super Bowls of the 2 Super Bowl MVPs, or would you rather have a career of Aaron Rodgers, who has 4 regular season MVPs but only 1 Super Bowl?
Wow, talk about being put on the spot on that one. That's as if I'm putting me out of the aspect. If I'm a fan of the New York Giants, I want the Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. Look, nothing against Eli. 2 Super Bowl wins. I think Aaron Rodgers, you take his career-wise, I still think he accomplished more than what Eli ever will. I don't care if Eli has one more ring than he does.
Listen, I thought you were going to say Eli for the reason of then I have two good Achilles.
Sorry, Dan, that was him. That was him. I didn't do that. Look,
Listen,
what happened to
Dan, I
Rodgers-
don't apologize for nothing. Your owner's a moron.
what
Check out my
happened to
latest on
Rodgers-
www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for the latest dysfunctional news surrounding the New York Jets.
What happened to Rodgers was tragic. I mean, you couldn't have written a horror story better. The NFL season started off like Achilles being killed. You know, you can't script a season to go like this. However, I don't think Aaron Rodgers minded. He got $50 million not to do anything. So, I mean,
Go ahead, finish the point, then we'll
Yeah.
get back into the Super Bowl.
yeah, no. I'm finishing up on your transition. You made me think about this. No, I would rather have a player like Aaron Rodgers who's consistent throughout the season and rely on my team in the playoffs than give me a player like Eli Manning who has to eke his way through life. Sorry.
Nope, that's fine. I think they get introduced tonight as well during the game.
Yes. During the
Um,
festivities, yeah.
We'll get into the awards in a minute. While we're here, we'll get into the awards.
You know the awards now.
Let's do the awards now, and then we'll get into the game a little bit more, then we'll wrap it up. Lamar, your MVP. Kevin Stefanski's your coach of the year. Christian McCaffrey was your offensive player of the year, which I need a quick minute on that. I don't disagree with Christian McCaffrey winning offensive player of the year because I think he should have been the MVP. My issue is quarterbacks. How can one guy be the MVP and then not be the offensive player of the year? That's my confusion on these awards.
And it's a very, very valid point.
So those have Stefanski was your coach of the year. Myles Garrett was your defensive player of the year. The Houston Texans swept rookie of the year. Will Anderson's your defensive rookie of the year. Jalen Carter was snubbed, in my opinion. And CJ Stroud, your offensive rookie of the year, which we kind of figured. And then, Mark, the one you want to dive into, Joe Flacco is your comeback player of the year.
This was, look, not again. The guy had a great, not an amazing, a fantastic and a career noteworthy 5 games for the Cleveland Browns. Got them into the playoffs. The guy played for 5 games. That's basically saying we could take our vice president, Danny Boy Reginald, have him line up for left guard. He pushed 2 guys out of the way, and Christian McCaffrey goes in for 4 straight touchdowns, and McCaffrey gets MVP. Dan comes on, never played a game, and Dan played 1 game in high school, but he gets comeback player of the year. This is not how it should be. I understand where people are saying DeMar Hamlin. And frankly, I mean, you don't build a better story. I mean, guy literally died on the field to come back to play a year later. I mean, you can't just give everything to the quarterback. I don't care if he's 125 years old. I don't care that he came in for and did what he did. It was the last 5 games of the season. As for coach of the year, Stefanski, come on. How does Dan Campbell not get coach of the year?
Oh, wow. You went in a different direction than I would. So, all right.
How does Dan Campbell not get coach of the year? Nothing against Myles Garrett. Nothing against my boy Micah Parsons. How does TJ Watt get snubbed for defensive player of the year?
DJ Watt feels the same way if you read his Twitter.
I haven't had a chance to be on Twitter yet. And I'm sorry.
He deleted the post, but he was not happy about it.
When I saw the list, I knew Micah was going to be up there. Micah had an amazing season. Myles Garrett had a fantastic season as well. but none of them met the stats of what TJ Watt did.
The one that really got me and really irked me was Coach of the Year. I know why Stefanski got, because they had to go through 5 quarterbacks. Totally get it. And Nick Chubb won at week 2. What our guy Dan Ryan's cousin D'Amico did with the Houston Texans. I mean, I get it. The AFC South is not good, and the Jaguars choked it away. But you have a new opinion of what the Houston Texans are. And going into next year, the Texans are not only the favorite, but they have set they are changing the culture there in Houston with D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud. So that was the one that got me. I know Stefanski got one more first place vote, and that's what set him apart. And I get it's a tough vote, but
I agree with you on D'Amico Ryans. And I like what you said, how Houston's changing the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing football back to Texas, really. And it's making them a destination landing for free agents. Now, I haven't looked at their salary cap, and I'm not going to be able to comment.
They're a running back. Oh man. Ooh, coming down.
They are, and I was about to say before Mike coughed there,
Sorry, Houston.
You clear? When you look at the wide receiver crew that he has and what could be coming, you don't need much to add. You got Tank Dell, you got Nico Collins, 2 solid wide receivers. They can still bring in somebody. They need a running back. Absolutely. No, look, Devin Singletary proved he couldn't get it done in Buffalo. He proved he can't run in Houston. They were thinking that Dameon Pierce and Singletary would be able to kind of be like Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery in Detroit. No, nobody's that 2-headed beast. Houston needs either to take the opportunity and go make a splash in free agency, and there's plenty availability for them to do so. We're not going to be talking free agents right now because it doesn't make sense, but of any year, this is the year to go get a running back.
Mm-hmm. And bring back Dalton Schultz. I think that would be an important bring.
And that's a big issue for them, is that Schultz wants, yet again, more money because he thinks he was as elite. No. Look, Dalton Schultz, I loved him in Dallas. I wanted him to stay, but he wasn't more than a $13 million receiver. Tight end. Sorry.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But those are the awards. There's the whole thing. Let's dive back into the game very quickly.
Yeah.
Because we do have some time. But Mark, I'm going to go to you on this one. Well, I have to.
I was about to say, I kind of leave you with no other choice.
Yeah, you do. Unless Lil Jimmy's here. Shout out Patch if you're listening. He knows who Lil Jimmy is.
Yeah.
What Rudy brought it up before he left. It's winter Thanksgiving tonight. Everybody eats. What's on the menu at the Halpern household?
See, at the Halpern household, we always have goodies. See, over the last few years, I was sick. I really couldn't cook much. Today, I'm going all out. If you want to know why, because starting at 2:00 today is the Puppy Bowl. And if you want to go watch a good explanation on who's in the Puppy Bowl and a very cute thing, go check out our YouTube page and check out my son and daughter give their review of the Puppy Bowl and who they think is going to be the MVP. And if any one of them pick the MVP, I'm throwing up a credit giveaway on Top Notch Sports Club's Sports Break. So if you want to go join to possibly get a giveaway for credit, go to them now. But I got the basic start. You got to have a little appetite. You got some chopped veggies, you got some dip, you got some cheese and crackers. Then you got to get into your spanakopita. You got to have a little spinach and cheese puff pastry. Then you got to have some mozzarella sticks. You got to have a little bit of common for everybody. Not everybody likes spinach, but that's not enough. See, I was going to do steaks. I had steak, but I wanted to do steaks last night. So we decided that we're going to have all football food today. So we have burgers, we have hot dogs, we got 5 different types of chips. Mind you, I'm two adults, a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. I lost a lot of weight. It's all coming back tonight. It's all coming back tonight. And what game would be without buffalo wings? You gotta have the hot wings. What's cooking in the Rifkin house? Or what's gonna be cooking in the Rifkin house?
So we got a couple of pizzas coming. And then gonna get some appetizers, as you said, some mozzarella sticks, some wings, probably some potato skins.
Oh, I could have done. Oh, I have. Oh, that's a good idea. I haven't done that yet.
So that's on the menu tonight. So big appetizer night. And we'll snack around too, probably. But I got to be honest. In my 30 years of living, I've always been more of a meals guy than a snack guy. So I'm big on the meal. So we're gonna go more meal stuff than just snack stuff. If you catch my drift. All right, but everyone enjoy the game, enjoy the food while you're at a party or whatever. But this is gonna be awesome. But Mark, I think we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
So I want three things from you.
Okay.
I want an X factor from both teams. I want a prediction. On the prediction, I want the score and who will be the Super Bowl MVP.
Well, this game is going to be won by the San Francisco 49ers, and that's going to be because of the rushing attack of Deebo Samuels and Christian McCaffrey. As for a score, I have it right now 38-21 San Francisco, and my MVP is Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. What about X factors?
Oh, the X factor, this game is going to be controlling Patrick Mahomes. And we had pointed this out earlier in the podcast that left guard Tony will be out this game, and that's going to give, whether it's Joey Bosa and they switch sides or Chase Young, pretty much a free shot at Patrick Mahomes. So there's your X factor and how they stop him.
All right, for San Francisco, the X factor, I think there's two for San Francisco. One, Jawan Jennings, the number 3 receiver. And the reason why I say Jawan Jennings is you kind of know what you should get out of Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. If Jawan Jennings can have a nice day, that might ease off coverage of Debo and Ayuk and those guys. So it opens them up a little bit more. The second, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. We talked about it earlier, Mahomes' legs. If Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are playing spy, kind of like how they played against Philadelphia when they routed the Eagles. Sorry, Big Dom. I think San Francisco's got a great shot. Kansas City. I know everyone's going to say it's the receivers. I don't think it's the receivers. I think for Kansas City, it's how effective they are. To quote Tony Romo, I can't believe I'm saying that. It's how well they run the ball. And I'm not just talking Pacheco. It's Edwards-Helaire. It's Jerick McKinnon if he plays. Those guys are going to play a massive role. And defensively, it's the middle of the defense. It's Nick Bolton. It's the safeties. It's Chris Jones. Can those guys be difference makers in the middle of the field? I like Kansas City. I don't bet against Mahomes. 24-20 Kansas City. And I'm going outside of the box thinking on the MVP. L'Jarius Sneed.
Okay.
And by the way, L'Jarius Sneed, if you get that new contract and you win the Super Bowl MVP, hit me up and I'll take a cut of that contract. I think you wind up with a pick 6 tonight. I think that's the difference in the game. Brock Purdy makes one more mistake than Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City wins again. And, the Niners fans are just going to have to shake it off.
And I only have one last question for you, Mike.
Okay.
I want the over-under of how many times we see Taylor Swift. Where are we putting it on screen? Where are we putting it?
I'm going the over. I'm going to go over 10.
I have over 12.
Okay. Yeah, to be totally honest, I think shirtless Jason Kelsey will outshine her tonight. To be
Did
totally
you? Sorry that I know we're trying to wrap up. Did you see the picture of him from this morning?
No, I
He's
have not.
Galifianakis from The Hangover, with the satchel and everything.
You know what?
Yeah,
Jason Kelsey. I'm voting for you in November. I'm voting for Jason Kelsey.
I saw the picture and I just started laughing. He's dressed like Galifianakis.
Oh, I'm so. That is amazing. All right.
All right.
That'll do it for the final edition of the Sunday Sideline Report, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Everyone enjoy the Super Bowl. We will have more football content coming out throughout the off season. As Mark mentioned, we will work with sweep. We might be working with something on the draft. But we got other stuff to take care of. Enjoy the game tonight. Everyone be responsible. Don't drink and drive.
And don't bet on too many squares.
And never hit on 16 if you're playing blackjack. That's all I'm telling you. All right. Our thanks again to Rudy Campos for joining us. For the old ops guy, I'm Mike Rifkin. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody, and we will talk to you real soon.